Okay, welcome to Tuesday night here at the Strand Theater in North Tonawanda, New York. I'm here with Damone Jackson Outcome, great band in Buffalo. I'm going to introduce the players a little bit. We'll start over there. I got Jason Moynihan on saxophone, keyboards, guitar. I saw you stringing earlier, right? And just
Some
about
iwi.
Yep. All right, excellent.
Yeah.
You could explain to me afterwards what that is.
That's it.
Jack Culp on the fretless bass.
The one
Over
on
here, George Paleo on guitar, and Damone Jackson on drums and percussion, we would call it. So my first question is, I did a little background on some of these guys and some of these cats you're playing with here, and you got a couple of Berkeley dudes in the band. You've got a couple of Buffalo Music Hall of Famers in the band. You got people that have played nationally with some great artists here. How'd you hook up with these monsters, man? These monster players from Western New York.
Just having the opportunity to play with each one of them individually on different gigs that I've picked up on, or I think I've played the most with Jay in the past almost 10 years, maybe.
Yeah.
So we've done some touring together,
Right.
and a lot of gigs in Buffalo and whatnot, and same with George too. We didn't go on tour or anything like that, but we've played a handful of gigs in between, a 10-year stretch.
Sure.
And Jack, I've met. The first gig I played with Jack was for a UB gathering at a UB college. It was some big fire they had.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah, years ago.
Yeah, I was probably about 23.
Sure.
23 years old, 24. So just being blessed by just playing with these guys individually, and I was like, you know what would happen if, we all,
Yeah.
get in the pot together and boil, what's gonna happen?
Let me just state this. You're an accomplished musician, right? You're a Grammy-nominated artist now, right? On working with Tommy Z.
Well,
I think is it?
pre-nominated, nominated, whatever you want to. Whatever.
Well,
It's cool.
We'll
though,
leave it as is.
you know.
But you, as a drummer, you've been on my radar for a while. I've seen you play several times, and top dog in town. So
thank you.
you're well deserving to be hooked up with these fellas here. Why don't you tell me how the actual project came together? If somebody wants, feel free. Anybody wants to join in and field the question, step forward here, boys.
Want to answer this question?
I think it's George's best.
Well, me and George. It's kind of funny that you asked that question because George has been in my ear for well over a decade since I really kind of came into this scene, and he's like, "You're really good at what you do. You should start your own band someday." And I was like, "Yeah, that's cool, but I'm gonna just blow him off for a minute and just see what happens. Maybe I want to move away." And I almost did. I almost moved to Atlanta. And things didn't work out there, and George still was calling my phone periodically. Hey, you're really good at what you do. You need to start your band. I'm okay, just kind of procrastinating. And then I ended up, leaving Freight Train. It was good. It was on good terms.
Right. Sure.
And here comes George again calling me. He's like, yeah, so you're free now. You're a free agent. Here's a gig for you at Central Park Grill. Now, mind you, the outcome, what it is now, it wasn't what it is now. It was something different before. Like, we had different players in there, monster players, of course.
You're right.
So it was kind of just an experiment to see who fits, who doesn't, who wants to play with George and I. And just over time, it just kind of marinated into this juicy steak that everybody likes to eat, I guess.
Sure.
With A1 steak sauce, well done. I like my steak well done. I don't know about these guys, but it kind of just grew over time, and Central Park Grill pretty much was the birthplace for this group, and it just. I still get the chills just thinking about it because I didn't even think it would even last or even be what it is now. I thought it was just, it's just a big jam fest, and it's gonna be hot for a second, then it's gonna fizzle. But the exact opposite happened.
I remember talking to you the week that me and you had talked. We were playing a gig, I think, with something else, and you had called me and said, "Hey, I got a spot." I was like, "Yeah, I was looking to see if I could get on that gig with you and George, because I'd never played with George before.
Right.
You know, I've always been a huge fan of George's stuff, obviously. And he came out and supported when I was playing with Miller and the other sinners and different groups around town and saw me. And I've always told George these stories that every time I was playing in another band, it always seemed like George came in when I was playing guitar. Is there nothing more intimidating than having like one of your biggest like mentors that you see as a mentor, you know? But I didn't know George then either, right? So there was also like that like mysterious, like when musicians don't know each other, like there's like a mysterious kind of like barrier of like, what's he looking at? Is he critiquing me, or is he just grooving out right now, right?
I'm intimidated just sitting here with you folks.
Right?
Yeah.
No, come on, man.
But you know, like musicians have a way of finding each other. Like you know, George probably, I would imagine, have heard about you. I had heard about you before I even probably saw you play. Or knew,
and me and George, funny enough, me and him kind of, I think, it kind of sounds weird. It sounds like an online dating sequence, but I think me and George probably kind of communicated more online before we actually saw each other physically.
Yep.
That's
You
how it
know,
usually is now, too.
So, you know, thank you to tech. You know, I
Sure.
can only take technology for that. That's about probably the only
it's
thing.
connected many
But,
people.
you know, yeah, me and George started talking actually prior to like Damone and you guys kind of doing this. And me and you had been talking because I was talking to him about old Ernie Watts gamelan stuff and how Ernie was one of my big, you know, mentors as a saxophonist growing up. And then I remember him being so excited because he was like, yeah, man, you got to come down and play on this gig. And hey, man, the night that you're there, I'm calling Jack Call.
Yeah, wow.
Right? You know,
It was epic.
and I'll never forget that first
That
night.
sounds
Like
great.
we played, and like when we got done, like we all like looked at each other, and we were. It's like we were floating in clouds to
We
to
were
each
high
other.
for
You know,
about
yeah,
3
we were.
days.
Yeah, we all
You know,
knew
we
what
hadn't
happened.
done any drugs, but we were high.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
too bad.
You
It's
know,
a
we
movie
were high
that
on
really
life.
hasn't been made yet.
You know, we were
really
high
is.
on excitement
Yeah.
and like what just happened? What did
Yeah.
we just do? Because we didn't. Yeah, I don't think. I mean, maybe you guys can agree or not, but like with that first night, the stuff we did was like. There's still some things that we still kind of pull off from that, but we didn't really know where we were going, but we knew it was some of the greatest stuff that we've all
Yeah.
done collectively as
Right.
musicians too.
And now
That's-
almost, man, 3 years later. I mean,
And then from the outside, there was like 5 people at that first gig.
Right.
we played.
Yeah.
And then the
Yeah.
following week, there was like 8 or 9 people. And then a week
Right.
later, there was like 15 people.
Yeah,
and the next
I think
thing
my
you
buddy
know,
Tom's like, you got to come check these guys out.
yeah, but it only took like
CPGs
3 or
on a
4
Tuesday
weeks,
night or
and then
something.
it was packed
Yeah.
every week.
Yeah, right.
It was like some kind of Hollywood movie that everybody wins in the end, kind of
Yeah.
thing, you know. Well, at least so far.
Yeah.
So it kind of brings me to the next question is, so you guys are, you know, you're building steam, and then COVID hits, you know? So, you know, how did you manage to get through that? Maybe Jack could feel this one a little bit.
Well,
Like, what
I think
mean, that's
on
terrible.
the onset, after we all felt like we got punched in the face and we kind of walked it off, we decided, okay, well, you know, half full, half empty kind of thing. Not that it wasn't a terrible thing. We all lost plenty of people due to it. But we weren't going to sit around and mope. And we kind of hoped that if it were to go on for a while, that people would have a newfound appreciation for live music and people who actually play.
Sure.
So we worked hard over the whole time. I mean, obviously there was no place to play. There was no money in it. But that didn't stop us. We recorded our album over this time.
Well, you did some live feeds.
We
Yeah,
did live
we
feeds,
started
yeah.
the live
Well, we
feeds,
did that, and
yeah.
that's
You
how
were
we
able to
actually
raise
started
some
to be able
funds
to
for
do
the
it.
first
Yeah.
record.
Yeah, well, the first record we did before the COVID thing, but unfortunately our release date was the same release date as COVID. So,
Okay.
but we still did pretty well on it. We got some people hearing it and getting the word out. So we were like, well, just because we can't play doesn't mean we shouldn't do something.
Right.
And it just worked out that as soon as this happened, here we were.
All right, we're gonna wrap it up. We'll be right back with the Damone Jackson Outcome.